Hi, welcome back to Art and Soul. My name is Mike Severant. I'm really glad you could join me again today. If you notice, we've got an easel up, some paints out, and we're going to be painting today. The last couple of weeks we haven't been able to do that for some stuff we've been going through with getting onto public broadcast and still working on some of that, but we're going to go with the green light tonight to get some painting done, which is exciting for me. And hopefully you're going to be able to paint along with me. And if you haven't, maybe you can watch, get some ideas that you can do for yourself as you begin to paint. And I would encourage you, whether you paint with me here on the show or you take a lesson. I do lessons. There's lots of different places around town that have them. Even the little wine and paint classes they have for a couple hours at night. Those are kind of fun too. Just gives you a creative outlet, and that's what this show is about. It's called Art and Soul. The art is a big part of it. The soul is the part that I love about it, because art is just an expression of your soul, and it's an outward expression of what's inside of you. And I think that everybody needs some sort of a creative outlet. So whether you're painting or whatever it might be, just get out there and do something creative. I think that it will be refreshing to your soul if you will do that. So what we've got here today is we've got a 16 by 20 stretch canvas, which is our standard size that we work with all the time. And in the background, I don't know if you noticed it, there's a painting that is on the easel. And it's a nice little sunset that we're going to be painting tonight. What I did was I had a bunch of extra paint on my palette, and if you notice on the palette here, I've got a lot of just a mirage of different colors that are on there. But before I cleaned it off to start a big new project that I'm working on, I had a lot of colors left on the palette, and I didn't want to waste them. And so I do this quite often. I just start using colors that I have on the palette, just throwing it onto the canvas, and you never know what's going to come out. And so if you notice this one that's on the easel behind me here, this is exactly what I did. I used all these oranges, some purples, alizarin crimson, the yellows. And so we're going to kind of recreate what I did yesterday with that painting. Very quick, very easy, and it's fun watching the colors materialize on the canvas in front of you. I think you'll find it's very inspirational, it's very easy, and it's very therapeutic. So let's get started. I'm going to grab here a little 1-inch brush. You can do this with just about any size you want. I would suggest something as, a bigger brush. It would probably work better for this than a smaller one, but we'll go with the 1-inch. And I'm just loading it up with alizarin crimson. And before I get started, I guess I should go through. I've got CAD orange that we're going to be using, alizarin crimson, dioxazine purple. Got some CAD red here that we'll be using maybe, as well as our CAD yellow light. So that's the colors we're working with. So we're going to take and just, we want maybe just a horizon line somewhere around there. We don't really care. We don't really, at this point, it doesn't really matter. And I've just loaded up my brush with that alizarin crimson, and I'm just taking and scrubbing in some just straight alizarin crimson right onto the canvas, and I'll just reload. So if you lose me on the camera, it's just that I'm just getting more paint on the brush, and I'm just going to carry that alizarin crimson all the way across there, and I'll just maybe grab some of that dioxazine purple, and I haven't cleaned up my brush, and I'm just going to put that in right over the top of that alizarin crimson, and just bring that down maybe a little bit below what that alizarin crimson level was at there. I think we're going to make this kind of into maybe a little ocean scene at sunset. And so, as you can see, that was pretty simple, pretty quick, not a whole lot to that. I'm just gonna wipe the excess out of my brush now, and I'm gonna go straight into that cad orange. And I'm gonna just put in some of this up above it, across, and then I'm gonna start blending them, working them into each other. Now, I love this alizarin crimson, what happens when the oranges come together. It just is I think is just a beautiful color that it produces, and we're just wanting just to carry those two colors, blend them, bring them into each other, and we can develop that a little bit more as the painting develops. But we're just kind of doing this just to show you the layers that we go through and how easy these beautiful sunset paintings are how easy they are to do. So that's really already is looking really, really pretty there. And maybe we'll take and go into that dioxazine purple and maybe put in kind of maybe a dark cloud base that's there. And we've got obviously the oranges that are still in the brush, and so what that does with that purple, as it starts dispersing out, it takes on more of kind of a mauve-ish color. We'll go straight in now to that cad orange again, and we'll incorporate that in. Just going back and forth here between the colors, and we'll just take and throw in just a big old glob of that yellow in there on top of it. And what that does is it kind of makes a kind of a nice yellow or orange that's in there. And I don't know if you could see it or not, but I left kind of a couple of little gap areas here where I didn't get the canvas completely covered. And I did that intentionally because I want to come back in with that cad yellow, and I want to drop that in. And then what I'll do is, now that I've got kind of big globs on there, I just want to take and kind of work that around so that it just kind of softens up into, it still has the yellow, but it has more of the orange bases. And what that does is kind of gives the illusion maybe of some areas that the clouds would be, maybe you're getting hit a little bit more with the light than others. I'm going to wipe out the excess out of the brush again, and I'm grabbing again now just straight cad yellow. Still have got oranges that are, and the purples that are in the brush, which is fine. A lot of people that frustrates them having that, but I think what it does for me is I love the way that those colors blend on the canvas, and you're in good shape as long as you keep, if you notice, I keep wiping my brush off. Otherwise, you can end up with mud really quickly on your canvas, and you lose kind of the purity of the colors. So we're going to go in with some more of that cad yellow as I'm just developing this up here. And now we've got kind of a really nice base there of those yellow clouds. And we'll come back in, hit straight into the cad orange again, and we'll come back in and kind of bring that back over into those yellows. And I come across here where I've got all that alizarin crimson and the purples that are in there. And again, if you notice what I'm doing here, it's kind of the rule of thumb. Whenever you're doing painting, we want to play the lights off of the darks. So if you've got a dark area when we want to play a lighter color against it, and by doing that, it just brings in more continuity across it. It looks more, has more depth to it, and it looks more realistic. So that's really, I'm really liking the way that looks there. That's the fun part about this that I talk about, that you can just kind of see the magic happen on the canvas in front of you. And I went right back into that alizarin crimson now. Again, that dark against the light of that yellow. And just kind of blend those into each other there at the yellow here in a minute, and which turns it into that kind of that orange, almost kind of takes on a fire look actually in many ways. And I'm just going to carry that alizarin crimson up here, and I'll bring in some more of those oranges up above here in between them and blend those out. And we'll go up on the top edge up here, do the same thing. And just this process is just, it's very soothing, it's very relaxing, just watching the colors. And if you notice, I'm being really free with the strokes. I'm just scrubbing. I have a student that she's very, very talented, and she tries to use the brush back and forth the same way, you know, like a paintbrush would. Don't be afraid to use them on their side. Don't be afraid to scrub with them. You know, they can be used so many different ways. So don't limit yourself by just this back and forth stroke like you're painting a house. And by doing this, it really is freeing. It's relaxing. Maybe you're having a frustrating day and you need to take out some aggression. This is a fun way to do it too. But tonight, doing this show, this is just more of a fun, feel-good, happy painting that anybody can do this. If you can hold a paintbrush, you can paint this picture that we're doing here. And that's the part I love in doing the lessons, is so many people they go, oh, I can't paint, there's no way I could paint, until they sit down and set a brush in their hand and some paint in front of them and give them a little bit of guidance. They go, oh man, I can paint, this is fun. I wish I would have started doing this years ago. So I truly believe that anybody can paint, and it's healthy, and it's very relaxing, and I think that your whole disposition on life will change by doing something creative like this in your life. So we've got that top cover that just I really like the way that looks. We'll come back in here in a minute and blend that out a little bit, but I want to take and get this ocean part, the water body down here. I want to get it developed here before we get too far. And I went straight into that dioxazine purple. And at this point, it's so dark, it's really hard to even tell that it's purple. It actually looks more like it's a black in many ways. And I'm just going to kind of fill those corners in a little bit with that, and then we'll bring in some alizarin crimson in here. And of course, you know, when you're doing this at home, I mean, you don't have to work as quickly as I do. You can take your time and do this at your pace, but I think sometimes it's kind of nice, and it's actually better if you work at a faster pace when you're doing something like this, just because it becomes more free, and I think it we're not at this point trying to put in any sort of detail. We're just basically putting in just some throwing down some beautiful colors onto the canvas. And I just grabbed some straight cad orange there. And we'll continue with that across here and bring that up into that alizarin crimson and purple that we had put down initially right there at what would be a water line, distant horizon. That looks so cool. I love the way those colors play off of each other. It really is fun to do, and I certainly hope that you try this at home. I think you will really enjoy it. I've been doing this show now. We're coming up here on almost a year that we've been doing this show, and we'll talk more about it next week. One of the gentlemen that works here at the station, become really good friends with him, and he was the first person that I had in contact when I first started talking about the show, and his name is Arlen, and just an absolutely wonderful human being, and has been a huge part of what's made this show what it is today. And but he just turned in his resignation. He's gonna be moving out of state to be closer to his children, and he's gonna be dearly missed around Salem, and he's had such a huge influence on so many people that have put shows together over the years, and he will be truly missed. You know, there's certain people that come along in our lives that just touch us in special ways, and you sometimes don't always realize the impact that you are having on somebody. And so, you know, just keep that in mind. No matter who you meet along the way, and life is full of those opportunities to meet people, and some are there for a short season and some are there for longer, but they touch you, and I really believe that nothing happens by chance, and people come into your life at certain points when you need them, and Arlen happens to be one of those people that we first connected. And I've talked pretty candidly on the show in the past about the situation that I was in, kind of the emotional state of being that I was in when we first started talking about the show. And Arlen was just such a support and a blessing to me. And I don't think he realizes how much of a blessing he was at that time in my life. And it's not something that I will ever forget, and I will always remember and appreciate about him. So as I was talking there, if you notice, I just was grabbing up some of that orange or that yellow, cad yellow, and just working it in, trying to mirror somewhat what we've got as far as the colors in the sky, trying to do that in the water down below, and doing say that they're kind of more of a smiley face type of a stroke. And what it does is it just kind of gives just a little bit of an illusion that there's movement in the water. And now what I'm doing is I'm coming back in with some of that alizarin crimson, and I'll bring in some purples here in a minute, just to kind of give some contrast in those light versus dark areas. It's kind of it's every single one of the paintings that I do, and you can see the one that's on the easel in the background, and I did the exact same thing that I did just now on the show, but this one looks different than the one that I did yesterday in the studio. And that's the part of this that's always kind of amazes me, is that as much as you might try to reproduce it, each one is going to be different, and that's kind of fun in itself, because you just never know what they're going to turn out like, and each one will have a feel all of its own. So we've got all of our canvas covered, nice little water here, our beautiful sky up there. And what I want to do now is I want to take my big 3-inch brush, and I want to just take and feather out some of this, blend this sky together so that it's not quite as harsh in contrast. And there's one thing that as we do this, after this paint dries, I may decide that I want to come back in and highlight some of these specific clouds a little bit, or you might want to just leave it the way it is. That's kind of a personal taste, what you would like there, but you know, it's your painting, do it the way you'd like to. So again, I've got this big old 3-inch brush, and I'm just well, Bob Ross used to use this term, 3 hairs and some air, just super lightly doing these crisscross strokes, and do a few strokes because you'll pick up paint on your brush. Just wipe that off on the paper towel, and just again, just these very, very, very light stroke back and forth, doing these big X's across it. And you can make the sky about as soft as you would like. The more you work it, the more it will get soft and more of a pastel type of a feel to it. And I don't want to completely do that. I just want it to be just this nice soft feel to the sky. And so what I've done after I did all of those crisscrosses, now I'm just taking and just doing some long strokes all the way across the sky. And if you notice, I'm just coming down to the water line. I'm not doing anything in the water because I want that movement that's down here of the wave action. I want to maintain that. I think that that's an important part of it. It's kind of the play between the beauty of the sky and the subtleness that's there, but yet the movement and the life of the sea. So that's just kind of my own take. If there are certain areas maybe that you want blend out a little bit, you know, you can do that. But if you notice, even with this big brush, I'm still doing basically those big smiley faces, just to soften maybe some of those areas that are a little harsher than others. And you know, maybe you want to put actually some more water movement in there if you want to. That's your prerogative. That's your painting, and you know, you can do that the way you would like to. And I think we've got just a couple of minutes left. I think what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to make this look almost like it's a beach that comes along there, just maybe a shoreline. And that's really simple to do. I'll just wipe out that brush that I had on there earlier, and I'm just going to blend this out a little bit across here with the colors that are on there. And then I'm just going to go straight into that cad orange. And I'm just going to do this kind of a swiggling down of that might indicate just maybe where the water's lapping up there a little bit onto the beach. And I just grabbed a little bit of that cad yellow just to come back over maybe as a little bit of a cap on that as well. That looks really nice. And that was a very quick, easy, simple painting. Something that anybody can do. And it's something that I know you would enjoy and will bring you some fun into your life. Just just working with those colors alone just makes you feel good and makes you feel happy. As always, I always finish the show with a few words. And today I was down by the little pond that's on the property, and I go down there quite often, well, every day that it's not raining, to do my meditation and prayer. And it's just a really peaceful environment, quiet, lots of nature, a little stream that's going by there as well. And just to hear the water, to all of the birds right now are nesting, and just everything is just alive right now. And it's been really fun to just sit there and just observe what's going on around you. I had a little frog that showed up in the pond, and I talked about duck the other day. I say it all the time, and I think that it's something that I will probably forever talk about, because I know how important it is that you take time to stop and see those little bitty things that are blessings that God has created, that are there at your disposal. It's there for your sight, for your hearing, to smell. All of those senses that you have, they take, and if you will absorb those and let them come into your life and into your being, I think that you will have a much better perspective on life. It's going to help you in your artwork. Just watching the way the light plays, maybe through the leaves, or even through a blade of grass, to see the shadows and the light playing as it's swaying in the wind. The flowers, watching the way the light hits the petals and how it illuminates certain petals and darken other areas, and the colors that you see in those things. And a lot of people that don't do that go through life missing out on so many things that are blessings, that are all around you. The most insignificant thing to someone else, you can find beauty in it if you will just stop that moment and observe it. Taking 30 seconds to a minute while you're walking down the street to watch a little centipede walking down the wall or something. It doesn't take much out of your day, but it will take and make you feel better. And I think that by you feeling better, it's going to make all those around you feel better. Be a blessing, just like Arlen has been to me through the last year of the production on the show. Be a blessing to those around you. That little kind word, smile, encouragement can mean a lot to them. You don't know what their day is like. You don't know what their situation is at home, but that little bit of encouragement might change their life. Thank you for joining me today. We'll see you next week here on Art and Soul. And in the meantime, be creative, be blessed. I love hearing your comments, either on Facebook or through email. And do something creative. Have a blessed week, and I'll see you again next week here on Art and Soul. CJ, as always, I love you.